The maps of this realm don't make any sense to me. Okay, so we have. I need to talk about this because this is maybe my most confusing point. I had a lot of not a lot. I had a few revelations in my reading where I went, "Oh, I didn't know that." Like this was probably evident before, but like Yasna being the daughter of Gavilar, that they probably said that, but I did not connect the dots that that is the guy that was killed, the king that was killed in the beginning. So some of those dots I didn't connect, and then finally I feel like I connected them. Are we a little too bright? That's a little better. Okay, the map. We have the first map. Maybe I'll make this a thumbnail or something like that. We have the first map right here. This doesn't make any sense to me because this is different from this map. These maps are different. Roshar's Silver Kingdom's Epic. Is this just a cleaner version of this? It can't be, because this doesn't make sense to me. Because there was a section in this book that says this. The 4 volumes were thick. The 5 Vorin kingdoms, she thought there were 4. Yaakaved. Okay, let's look back at the map. There's Yaakaved. The next one says Alethkar. Alethkar. I still don't know how to pronounce that. Alethkar. Okay, there's Alethkar. Nice. Excellent. Carbranth. I thought Carbranth was a city. Carbranth is that little city down there. Are the Frostlands Carbranth? Are they renamed certain things? Also, Shattered Plains. Rest in peace to Bridge Crew 4. We will never forget. And then Natanaton. Where's Natanaton? I was looking at this new Natan. Natanaton. Is new Natan Natanaton? I literally have been looking at that map for like 20 minutes and I couldn't figure it out, and I just looked and I said Natan, New Natan. But New Natan is in the Frostlands on the other side. Are the Unclaimed Hills, are all those mountains like where the Shattered Plains are in Natanaton? I don't really want answers for this sometimes in the comments, unless the book has already given me the answer. So you guys have been phenomenal with spoilers and everything like that for not giving me any spoilers and just telling me to read and find out. And I will keep reading and finding out. But if the book has covered something that I've just missed, you can tell me about those things if I'm asking questions. But if it hasn't, you guys have been doing a great job at just saying read and find out. But the maps just don't make sense to me right now. They're just weird and bizarre. And then there's a 5th kingdom. What is a 5th kingdom? Or what is the 5th part of the Vorin kingdom? The 5 Vorin kingdoms. What's the 5th one? And why is there a whole other side of the map that I don't know anything about yet? I mean, we're only 100 pages into a great epic of a fantasy series, so I'm not complaining about that one. I'll learn more about those places soon, I'm sure. But why are the Pershendi fighting in the Shattered Plains? Where did the Pershendi come from? I feel like I have answers to this, and this is one of those parts where like I feel like my frustrations right now are less frustrations and more like me starting to gasp for air a bit better. And I'm like, rather than being drowned in the details, I'm trying to sort out the details in my head. And I've read about all this kind of stuff before. And now it's just, I need to get annoyed and figure this stuff out and try to go from there. So I'm kind of at that point in the novel right now, which I am really enjoying. My neighbors are down there. I don't know if they can hear me. Me getting annoyed with Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings. Okay, so I've read all of the rest of part 1. I've read 8, 9, 10, and 11, and I want to talk about these. There's a bunch of things that I want to talk about. Some really interesting things, and I think some things that are just like I want to talk about his writing. And one thing that I really like too is when I've been critiquing Brandon Sanderson's writing, and I think there's a fair amount of people who know that he's maybe not like, a Tolkien with his words. he is very, he feels like a very economic writer with his words. Like, he is trying to get a point across. He's trying to get a story across. He's not trying to dazzle you with his words. But there have been really interesting things. Like, I critiqued him the other day on the overly descriptiveness of some of his things. And there were a few comments of you guys that helped me a ton understand, oh, this is more like Shallan understanding who Yasna is. So she is very descriptive because she's an artist and she's a painter, and she has to be a character that writes like that, or that at least tells a story like that. So that is actually really interesting, and I do like that a bit more. I think I've listened and watched some of Brandon Sanderson's like teaching for his writing classes, and he does teach through the rules, but I do think that he has a better writing ability than some people do give him credit for. I don't think his words are beautiful, but I think it is actually very, very difficult to write an epic this long and to be acclaimed as a novelist or a storyteller without being a decent writer. I think he's a pretty decent writer. Like, I think that if other people are trying to write this, there's maybe like, I don't know if there's anybody that can really write epic like him in this way and write it in a better written way. I think there's things that he can do, and there's one or two things that I want to talk about with that I want to just critique, and I want to get your guys' perspective on that too, because I love collaborating on this and seeing what you guys think of his writing style and if you think I'm off on certain things. But anyway, the maps are all over the place. There's another thing in the epigraph of this chapter 8. It says, "Victory, we stand atop the mountain, we scatter them before us. Their homes become our dens. Their lands are now our farms, and they shall burn as we once did, in a place that is hollow and forlorn." 18 seconds pre-death. That's not something that you say 18 seconds pre-death. That's like it's like a bigger fish has come and swallows everyone. That, it makes me think, like, did the Heralds come back and just like demolish everyone? Did the Radiance come back? What is the difference between the Radiance and the Heralds? We kind of learned that through one of the chapters a little bit, and I'll talk about that. But after I think after this video, and after I do this whole part, I am going to sit down for an hour or two and write out a like glossary of terms. I need like an index for myself that I can keep coming back to and write my understanding of some of these things. Because like a Radiant versus an Ardent versus a Voidbringer versus a Light Eyes, like I know what all these things are, but I need them written down so I can kind of keep expanding on my understanding of these things. Because sometimes it, like there was a discussion of the difference between Radiance and Heralds, and I want that, you know, the sharpest pen, or the dullest pencil is better than the sharpest mind. So I need an index of things for me. But anyway, this is not something that you say. Like, this, to me, this little epigraph is like, oh, maybe the Radiance came and just demolished everyone after that. It's like you win victory, and then all of a sudden there's a bigger thing coming. Or the Voidbringers maybe are coming and they just demolish everyone. Like, I don't know. And this world doesn't seem like what did the Voidbringers really do? Did they like in the beginning, the prelude doesn't make sense to me really, because the Heralds all leave, and then they're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Voidbringers are gonna wreak havoc on the world. Why isn't this world like a Mistborn? Why isn't this world like a completely rotten, falling apart place? Maybe it is, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I mean, the Shattered Plains kind of suck. But everything seems a little bit more tame than that. Like, there's actually things that grow. There's storms. Maybe the storms are the thing. The storms are the healthy thing, though. The the high storms are the thing that give like plants more life. Okay, there's a paragraph that I didn't quite understand this writing. And I don't know if this is just something that I missed, but I read this a few times and I just couldn't understand. It says, as always, thinking of her father made her feel ill, and the pain started to constrict her chest. She raised her free hand to her head, suddenly overwhelmed by the weight of House Devar's situation, her part in it, and the secret she now carried, hidden 10 heartbeats away. Huh? Hidden 10 heartbeats away? Why is it 10 heartbeats away? What's going on? So, Shallan, she has a secret of House Devar, her part in it, and the secret she now carried. hidden 10 heartbeats away. That was a bit of writing that just stopped me in my tracks for a bit, and I think I thought, "What the heck is this even talking about?" That just did not make sense to me, hidden 10 heartbeats away. Like, my mind went to 2 different places. This is just a written expression in this culture or in this religion, and it's like, it's hidden only in her heart, which I think it's an interesting bit of writing if it's coming at from that perspective. The other thing that I was thinking of is maybe there's an actual secret, like something that I think Brandon Sanderson is doing really well, which I'm actually encountering this in Dune. I'm reading Dune too, and Frank Herbert does this, which is like he anthropomorphizes, not really anthropomorphizes. He essentially makes abstract concepts into real creations. Like truth for Frank Herbert is like an actual tangible thing. I'm gonna talk about that in another channel that I have. But this he does this. Sanderson does with the spren, which I think is one of his best inventions. Like fear spren. There's all sorts of these weird little spren that pop up. Like infected spren or whatever they were. Like I think there's another one when Cal's father. It's like infection spren or something like that. Or mud's like dirt spren. I don't know what it was. But I like the idea that he's bringing up these tangible things for these abstract concepts. Like I think that's good. This to me is like maybe he's bringing that up with hidden 10 heartbeats away. Maybe there's something with the heartbeats that like it unlocks something, that it unlocks the actual secret. Like if you can like feel the 10 heartbeats come, a little cavity opens in her chest and the secret comes out. That's not what I really think, but that's where my mind goes to. I'm just like letting you guys into the weirdness of my mind. Shallan is interesting. I like her, but I don't like her. Like at the end of this chapter, when she finally is essentially able to kind of become a ward, kind of. Not really though. I was like, oh, good for her, but at the same time, not really good for her. She's like just trying to steal Yasna's man, the terms in my head of all these things, it's just all over the place. Trying to steal her hand thing with the why can't I think of that? What that is called? This is why I need an index right in front of me whenever I'm reading these things, because those things didn't even come up in these chapters. Like I don't think we saw that term. What is that term? Why am I blanking on that term? I just feel like this is a very important part of the Way of Kings. I don't know. Anyway, it says chronic competence, I should guess. She's been so successful in life that she has unrealistic expectations of others. And I underline that. I go, I like that a lot. That feels very true to life. That's like some of Brandon Sanderson's stuff that I really like. Like I do love when people impart their own wisdom into their books, and like Tolkien does this all the time. Frank Herbert does this. Even George R.R. Martin does this. I think Tolkien's the best at it. But I do like when Sanderson writes stuff like that. It's like a character comes out and says something really profound and really interesting. Like she has been so successful in life that she has unrealistic expectations of others, and that's true. I think in just normal life, like people who are crazy successful, they expect that of everyone else, and like I hate those things where people have like these crazy successful YouTube channels, and they're like, oh, it's just so easy. You just have to do this and this and this, and then all of a sudden you're going to be successful on YouTube. You're like, no, that's not true. You put in hours and hours and hours of work, and people don't have that time, and they don't have that effort, and they don't have that kind of mind for it. I'm like, that's annoying. But I like that bit of writing with Sanderson. Like, success isn't this prescriptive thing where, and the people who are successful sometimes treat it like that. And it's annoying. Okay, let's talk about Brandon Sanderson's writing, because there's one paragraph that I thought, this is not good writing, and I want people's perspective on this. And every time that I critique Brandon Sanderson's writing, I want to hear your guys' perspectives of it, because there's people who love a lot of descriptiveness, and there's some people who don't. Sometimes I think Brandon Sanderson could just be a bit more economical with his writing. He could not meander so much, but sometimes I really love a meander. So this is one paragraph that I thought just was not a good paragraph. Should we get a porter, she asked, as he led her to the large side street that ran laterally across the city hall. She stepped carefully. Her skirt was long enough that she worried about tearing the hem on the stone. The strip at the bottom was designed to be easily replaced, but Shallan could hardly afford to waste fears on such things. Now, that's one of those things where I think the purpose of this paragraph is essentially saying that Shallan needs to count her money and be careful spending her money. I understand the purpose of that paragraph. I think that he could have done this in a better way. This is, to me, again, like showing versus telling. I want Sanderson to do a bit more showing. Obviously, you have to do both in writing. Someone who just does all the showing, your novel's not going to necessarily be all that good. Like, you have to do some kind of telling in your novel at certain points. Even J.R.R. Tolkien actually does a lot of telling, a lot more telling than people really think he does. But he does a lot of showing too. But showing makes your audience feel smart and they can figure it out. This is spelling it out too much. But the description that he has for this, the skirt was long enough that she worried about tearing the hem on the stone. Just that paragraph alone, he doesn't need the next part. That Shallan could hardly afford to waste spheres on such things, because you can kind of figure that out from the previous. And also, I think there's a better way to implement an idea about her needing to be protective of spheres, which he actually does in the next section when she's about to go get these books, and these books are too expensive, and she doesn't have the spheres for it, or she doesn't have the coin for it, or whatever it is. And Yalb comes and helps her out. Like, that was a better way to talk about how she needed to save money, because that was a lot of money that those books were. They were like, it was an insane amount. So that was a little silly to me. But let me know what you think of that paragraph. Like, I think that that's a good, I understand his purpose in that paragraph, but I think that he could have done that in a better way. Like, I think, and I was thinking about this before, because I've lived and worked as an editor in a past life. I think I would have a tough time editing Brandon Sanderson's stuff, because his writing style is just, it's just expansive. Like, he knows where he's going. So I don't think you could edit his books until you are in his mind and know and understand him. Like, it is a hard, this would be a hard book to edit. Because if I'm an editor sitting with this book, I have all sorts of things writing wise that I want to accomplish by saying this. But I think Brandon Sanderson would probably have answers for the things and the decisions that he makes. I do think he's a very deliberate and intentional writer, but I think that he thinks some of these things are maybe more important than they should be. And maybe some of these things lead me astray to think, oh, what is he actually talking about with this? This thing seems like it has some significance that I'm going to miss, but maybe I'm not. Maybe the whole thing is just silly and it's just like a empty paragraph. So I think it'd be hard to edit, bottom line. Anyway, I got to keep going. Otherwise, this video is going to be an hour long. I'm already 20 minutes in and I'm only in the first chapter. All right, I don't have that many more notes in this one, but there's a funny note. He kept his eyebrows combed back over his ears. That'd be crazy. Imagine having eyebrows so long you have to comb them back over your ears. That'd actually be kind of cool. I wonder if anybody's ever had eyebrows that long. This was one of those moments where I go, oh, the man who killed Yasna's father nearly 6 years before, prompting the war against the Parshendi and Natanaton, had been Shin, the assassin in white, they called him. Okay, so Natanaton, I'm guessing, is New Natan. Let's just say that's New Natan on this map. Or maybe this old thing is, I don't know. Maybe there's an old map and a new map. But let's see, maybe the Parshendi live in Natanaton, and the Shattered Plains is between these two realms, and between Kholinar and New Natan. And that's like the place where they're meeting. Doesn't seem like a great place to actually have a battle, like poor Bridge 4. Again, that sucks. Love the Cal section. We'll get there in a bit. But maybe that's like just the in-between for these two places. But Gavilar being Yasna's father, I think that's come up before, but this was the moment where it like hit me, like I was going, oh, that makes sense. That's duh. I should have known that. And so I want to reread. I'm probably not going to, but I want to reread like the prologue and get some of that to see if there's any other information, like to see if Yasna's in that at all. I don't think she is, but anyway, at the end of this chapter, she becomes kind of like a ward. Kind of. And I'm like, good for her, but really, is it? Because she's just trying to go for that little thing that's on her hand. Why am I blanking on that? Also, the next page has these little camel crab things, the chulls. And I did not picture them to be like this in my head. They're kind of cute. They're kind of fun. And I love that we get like a little leaf from Shallan's book. It's kind of cool. The book is really fun right now. I like some of the illustrations. It like spaces the illustrations out really good and interestingly. I like this. I like a book like this. Chapter 9 is Damnation. 10 people with shard blades alight, standing before a wall of black and red. 12 seconds pre-death. 12 people with shard blades alight. Or 10 people. That's a lot of shard blades being alight. There was I'll talk about this actually when we get there, but there was a moment where I thought Cal was going to get a shard blade. I was hoping that he was going to get a shard blade, and I wrote shard blade? Question mark, question mark, question mark, and it wasn't. It was a leaf. We'll talk about that in a bit. It says he still didn't know why he fought on those blustering plateaus, why they fought on those blustering plateaus. Yes, me and you both. Something about those large chrysalises. They had gemstones at their heart, apparently. But what did that have to do with the Vengeance Pact? Lots of things going on there that I don't really understand, but that gives me a little bit of an indication for why they're fighting in the Shattered Plains. And maybe they're fighting for something on the Shattered Plains. Maybe the Shattered Plains has a lot more significance than I really think. I just keep thinking it's a bad place to fight like Cal does. But are they gaining some kind of power by fighting there because of these gemstones? Is this Stormlight in some way? Is this where Stormlight originates? Because there's high storms in this. Does Stormlight come from high storms? Where does Stormlight come from? These gemstones at the heart of these chrysalises? I would guess that, but I don't know. And maybe this is really what they're fighting for, but it doesn't seem like that. It seems like they like broke this pact. And I'm guessing the Vengeance Pact is the Parshendi essentially like declaring war on the Alethkar. But I don't know. I don't know. And then it says this, he kept staring, slumped. There was a way out. Bridgemen could visit the chasm nearest the camp. There were rules forbidding it, but the sentries ignored them. It was seen as the one mercy that could be given Bridgemen. This was good writing for Brandon Sanderson because he does not spell out exactly that this is suicide. I wrote suicide question mark next to this paragraph. And this is some stuff that I like because it makes you kind of figure things out for yourself and it keeps you interested in this. I think he does this very well with everything. And I mean, everything for Brandon Sanderson is read and find out. But this is one of those notes that like you are curious about and then it gets answered in the next chapter. You're like, oh, he like actually answered what this chasm was. Now you kind of have a good indication that this is suicide. It's like the one mercy that could be given Bridgman. But I was thinking almost like, oh, maybe this is you just walk this path until, I don't know. There's like a freeway. You have to like, I don't even know. It's like just a long walk home and most people die in it. But I didn't think it was gonna be like you just jump off this. But that's what it was. It says, there's something wrong here, a voice inside him said. You're missing part of the puzzle. They waste resources in Bridgman lives. They don't seem to care about pushing inward and assaulting the Parshendi. They just fight pitched battles on plateaus, then come back to camps and celebrate. Why? I keep thinking the same thing. Why they're fighting in the Shattered Plains for some specific reason. I think it's because of these gemstones. I think it's because they need something there that's significant to them. But I just don't know what that is, obviously. And we'll figure that out soon, but my guesses are kind of drying up. Like I think it has something to do with these. I also think there's a part of me in the back of my head that I don't think this is actually legitimate because there is like a war going on, but part of me thinks that like this is all fake. Like this is like a staged fight in some way. Like the Parshendi are not doing this real. Like, yeah, people are dying, obviously, but I'm like, is this whole thing just like a big fake fight between the two rulers here to show that the people, they're angry about fighting, but they're really both looking for something, or they're both at that thing for a specific reason, and they're maybe working together on certain things, like the bridge crews and going back and forth over these things just seems ridiculous. Why do they keep doing that? Seems like a crap place to fight. But there is a map on this. I haven't looked at that in a little while. But there's like the Shattered Plain map that was in one of these sections here. But it just shows this shows me just the war camp, so it doesn't actually show me like the actual Shattered Plains. I'm guessing the cover of this book is kind of the Shattered Plains. Like that'd be my guess, that the cover on this book is actually the Shattered Plains. I don't know who those people are on the cover though. Are. Who knows? I'll try to come back, she said, but I don't know what will happen when I leave you. Things are strange. I have odd memories. No, most of them aren't even memories, instincts. One of those tells me that if I leave you, I might lose myself. Then don't go, he said, growing terrified. I have to, she said, cringing. I can't watch this anymore. I'll try to return, she looked sorrowful. Goodbye. And with that, she zipped away into the air, adopting the form of a tiny group of tumbling, translucent leaves. Kaladin watched her go, numb. Then he turned back to hauling the log. What else could he do? So Syl leaves. Syl leaves, but she comes back. Well, I don't know what she is. I'm losing my mind trying to figure out who she is. She seems like I would guess to some extent. Like the idea of a ghost here is something that piques my interest. Are these like, is this any form of a dead person that is coming back, regaining some memories, and knowing that Kaladin is like this? He seems like a chosen one, kind of. Like, I don't think that this whole novel is going to be like the chosen one motif. Maybe it is, but Kaladin does seem like that. He seems like luck favors him in some way. And I don't know how that all works out, because I feel like there is in this novel, like Light Eyes maybe have a bit more luck or something like that, or they're able to wield things in certain ways that other people can't. Some of these things come and go, so I don't really know. My mind goes a little fuzzy on what some of these things are, or some of the things that I read previously, because I'm, 150 pages in, almost 200, and there's just a lot. Like, I still feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose in this, but it's starting to become a little clearer. Like, I think I'm starting to live in the world a little bit more. So it's helping a little bit. But this whole thing is just brutal. The storm continued this triad, and for the first time in a year, Kaladin found himself crying. Ugh, it's just brutal. It's just so brutal. I just feel so bad. But chapter 10 is where I thought the real interest was for me. Lanterns flickered, but stormlight was always true. So stormlight is a constant source of light. It's just like a light bulb, like your little LED. This is like light bulbs versus firelight versus a little lantern with a little candle in it. Hammy says that's silly, Cal said. He says Deathspren are mighty good at killing folk, so why should they be afraid of a little water? The Heralds were wise beyond our understanding. Cal grimaced. They're demons, father. I heard it off that Ardent who came last spring. That's the Radiance he spoke of, Liren said sharply. You're mixing them again. What's the difference between the Radiance? Are the Radiance a bunch of the Heralds? Like, are the Heralds only the 10? 10? Were there 10 of them? And then the Radiance are just a bunch of those other beings like that? Like, are the Radiance like angelic beings, and the Heralds are just the ones that were sent to fight? That's my guess. Cal sighed. The Heralds were sent to teach mankind, Liren said. They led us against the Voidbringers after we were cast from heaven. We were cast from heaven. The Radiants were the orders of knights they founded, who were demons, who betrayed us, Liren said. Once the Heralds left, Liren raised a finger. They were not demons. They were just men who had too much power and not enough sense. Either way, you are always to wash your hands. You cannot see the effect it has on Rotspren, not whatever I said before, with your own eyes. Even if Deathspren cannot be seen. Cal sighed again, but did as he was told. Liren walked over to the table again, bearing a tray lined with knives and little glass bottles. His ways were odd. Though Liren made certain that his son did not mix up the Heralds and the loss of Radiance, Cal had heard his father say that he thought the Voidbringers weren't real. Ridiculous. Who else could be blamed when things went missing in the night? Or when a crop got infected with digger worms? When things went missing in the night, they're blaming this on Voidbringers. But Voidbringers... do they exist? Yeah, they exist, because we see them in the prelude of the prologue. But we haven't seen them. And that's when things go missing in the night, or when a crop gets infected with digger worms. How are the Voidbringers the ones that are responsible for that? I don't know. It's just weird. I think there's a really interesting connection here in these books between the higher forms of like these creatures and what the lower forms are. Like I was attempting to read the Iliad, and it seems like there's a connection between the two with like what the gods are doing in these stories versus what the humans are doing, and we don't really know what the gods are doing in these stories. If these beings are gods at all, they don't seem like they are. Actually, at least according to Lyrian, like he says that they're men who just had too much power and not enough sense. But is that really true? They seem like an angelic kind of realm. But maybe that's just me, because even early on in the prelude, I think it was one of the heralds. Again, I forgot the names. Um, thought kind of the same, that they were just people, like that they were like worshipped and they shouldn't have been worshipped or something like that, or they were like esteemed when they shouldn't have been. I think there was something like that in there. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that. But this whole chapter was like an illuminating chapter because it helped me understand more things about this, but it also didn't at the same time. Like we're getting repeat information maybe that's helping consolidate things in my mind, but also it's still confusing. I don't think it's not going to be confusing for a long time, so I'm just living with this and being okay with it. There are two kinds of people in this world, son, his father said sternly: those who save lives and those who take lives. And what are those who protect and defend? The ones who save lives by taking lives. And I thought that he was going to do this with Gaz, the guy in the next chapter, when he like puts his hand on his neck. I thought he was going to take this guy's life so he can actually save a bunch of lives, and Cal could then become the one guy who's in charge of all these bridge crews, and he would do a much better job than that other dude, Gaz. But he doesn't. But I thought that was an interesting connection with those two things. Like he says, Cal's understanding is that you can sometimes save lives by taking lives. But I think he's going to come to the understanding that his father had, and he's going to become someone who is trying to save lives, not take lives anymore. Like he might get a chance to become a soldier in this, and I think he's going to not do that because I think he's going to want to become a surgeon to some extent. You have a gift from the heralds themselves, Lyran said, resting a hand on Cal's shoulder. And that's the thing too. The way that they talk about the heralds make it seem like there is a far greater cast of them. And it's interesting too, because like if I'm looking at the story like the Iliad, you have the gods and then you have humans and then you have like heroes who are maybe the intermediary between those two things. But with Way of Kings, it feels like there's a spectrum of beings. And I don't know what the hierarchy of beings are, but it seems like there is a long spectrum of beings that there's all sorts of people in between. There's like higher and lower people. And the heralds seem like they're very high up, but are they human or are they not? Are they human? Or are they flirting the line between human and God? Or the gods or angels? I don't know. You could be 10 times the surgeon I am. Don't dream the small dream of other men. Our grandfathers bought and worked us to the second non so that we could have full citizenship and the right of travel. Don't waste that on killing. Cal hesitated, but soon found himself nodding. So I like Lyran, but he's like one of those dads who's like, do what I want you to do, rather than what Cal actually wanted to do. But Cal becomes a soldier, obviously, and realized that he doesn't really want to be a soldier, that his dad was right. And I think that's maybe the better way to do things. You just kind of have that realization on your own. Or, oh, my dad was right. I should have become a surgeon. I think that's true in sometimes in real life, but not true in other parts of real life, you know? Like that can be true. So sometimes we do things that our parents want us to do and it becomes miserable. Sometimes we don't do what our parents want us to do and it becomes great. It works out perfectly for us. Storm Wardens, this is the next chapter, chapter 11. Droplets. Storm Wardens in Kholinar and Vedenar had proved that plants given stormwater did better than those given lake or river water. Wouldn't lake and river water be stormwater? Like, aren't lakes and rivers formed by rain and storms? maybe it's dissipated stormwater. Stormwater is like the true source of water. I guess that would be true in real life too. Sometimes, like if you are able to harness rainwater, it's probably better and healthier than if you're taking like, cave water. I guess water dissipates and mineralizes and does the different things. Why was it that scientists were so excited to discover facts that farmers had known for generations and generations? That's a good question. I like that idea too, that there's people who are like the simpletons in society, like the farmers, who have known these things for millennia, but the scientists think that these things are new inventions and new discoveries, and they're like, oh my gosh, high storms water or storm water is so much better than lake water. This is an incredible discovery. And the farmers are like, yeah, dude, we knew this a long time ago. This was the moment that I was like, ooh, is Cal gonna get a shard blade? But he doesn't. He froze at the soft, piercing voice, which was a cool idea. I love that. When Syl comes back, a translucent form bobbed in the air. Well, is this Syl? I think this is Syl. Yeah, this is Syl. Approaching through the weakening rain, the figure lunged forward, then sank, then surged higher again. It was like it was bearing something heavy. And I'm going, oh, he's going to get one. Kaladin brought his foot back and held out his hand. Syl unceremoniously alighted upon it, shaped like a sky eel clutching something dark in its mouth. Oh, I was really hoping that he's going to get a shard blade there and just go crazy and just start getting people. But he doesn't. He gets a leaf, dark green leaf, with a point divided in 3, which is Blackbane, which is really big poison, which is ironic because he was about to kill himself, and now this Syl comes thinking that this thing is a healing agent, and it's really something that is a poison. But I love this section, and this is one of those things I think Sanderson is really good at this in a torturing way. As soon as you start getting into a part of the story, he changes it and he brings you into a different part of the story. This was one of those moments where I finished this chapter. Like it says, her voice was soft, yet somehow stronger than the storm. I love that. It's good writing. I love that, Sanderson. Well done. Beautiful. And then he like firms up his resolve. But this was one of those chapters where I was like, oh, this is really just starting to get good. I want to still chill with Shallan and Cal. Like these are the 2 characters that I want. And then the next one, we're with Ishik, Non-Balat, and Seth, and interludes, which is the next part. I mean, we're going back to Seth, so that's kind of fun. That's kind of interesting. But I am refraining at all costs to look at some of the other parts of this because I don't know if we're going to come back to Kaladin and Shallan. We definitely are, but I don't know how that's going to look. And maybe we don't. Maybe we just won't ever come back to them. That's a lie. We definitely will, but who knows? Gaz nodded slowly, and Kaladin gave him another breath of frigid, humid air. Bridge 4 is mine, Kaladin said. You can assign us tasks, but I'm bridge leader. The other one died today, so you have to pick a new leader anyway, understand? Gaz nodded. So Kaladin just has like a firmed up resolve, which I love seeing him because he was losing his will to live, obviously, because he was about to go take his own life. And I love that he has this new resolve. He has this new purpose for his life, and that he's becoming a good soldier, but he's not really a soldier. He's just becoming a good man. He's trying to keep people alive. He wants to become a good leader. He just is generally a good leader. He goes through the camp, learning people's names. He couldn't be that man. He couldn't erase the scars, but he could learn from that man. As a new squad leader learned from the victorious generals of the past, Kaladin, Stormblessed, was dead. But Kaladin Bridgman was of the same blood. A descendant with potential. Now that's interesting. How long has he been known as Kaladin Stormblessed? And then, but Kaladin Bridgman was of the same blood. A descendant with potential. Was he a descendant of... Why was he a descendant of potential when he was called Kaladin Stormblessed? I don't know. It just makes me wonder about like the blood status of people. Is there certain things that these people have that makes them, I don't know, that makes them have higher forms of blood or status because of this? I don't know. It was just interesting. I thought that was interesting. And then again, at the end of this, it says he would find a way to protect them. The end of part 1. Again, I just said right, my note is just right when I get into this story, he's taking me away and bringing me to other things, which is good. He's keeping my interest in these ways. I think it's a really fun way to kind of keep a character's interest or a reader's interest. You really get them into the story here. You kind of give them like a peak moment and they're like, oh, finally gets firmed up. And then all of a sudden you take them away and you have to bring them to another part of the story and you have to learn something else. So it's really piquing my interest. I think Sanderson is probably pretty good at this because if he can write a novel this long, and then he can write, he's written 5 of these ones so far. If you can write 5 of these and he's keeping people's attention to keep reading, the guy knows what he's doing. Because a lot of people would write a novel like this, and I don't know if they would be able to include the intriguing value that he does, where he makes you want to keep writing. Like as soon as I am starting to like a character, he kind of takes you away from that character. And while that's cruel, I think it's actually a really brilliant writing device and something that I think people need to do and learn how to do more often in writing. I mean, J.R. Tolkien does this in The Lord of the Rings, obviously, because he switches between stories and flips back and forth. Like a little bit of a cliffhanger ending. I think authors generally are pretty good at cliffhanger endings, but Sanderson is just kind of next level at some of that. He just knows how to end each chapter really well and kind of keep you on the edge of your seat, so you just want to keep reading. So that's all I got. Those are my thoughts on those chapters. I'm going to start reading interludes probably sometime this week, but I am also going to create some kind of index or some kind of like thing that I need that I can keep referring to, because the more information I get, the more I want to actually organize my thoughts on a screen in front of me or on a piece of paper or something like that. So I'm probably going to do that sometime today in the next few hours. And we'll see how my thoughts go. So let me know what you think. Lots of questions. Really loving this book so far. I actually keep thinking about it. I think it's a really fun book. I want to figure out more of this stuff. I'm excited to get to, this is going to take years and years, but I'm excited to get to some of the end of this so I kind of know, and so I can kind of just keep waiting and anticipating more books that come out, and we can keep like having a longer conversation about these things. So I'm excited for that, but at the moment, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.